We have an incredible development to discuss with you guys today. John Boehner is stepping down at the end of October. So John Boehner is, of course, the Speaker of the House. And I have to say, when I read the headlines, at first I was excited because Boehner is a massive right-winger, and in many ways he's a joke. But what's interesting is that I read the headlines when I woke up this morning. I was happy. I was excited. But then it occurred to me, well, wait, why would he step down? I don't really get this. So then I go to my Twitter feed, and I'm reading what everybody's saying, mostly people who are all involved in politics in one way or another. And the consensus was like, well, we dislike Boehner, but today it's like our worst nightmare's coming true because we're kind of going to miss Boehner because whatever's going to replace him is going to be worse. So my gut reaction was, no, fuck John Boehner. Why are you guys saying this? That argument doesn't make any sense. Do you have any idea how extreme Boehner is with a lot of the stuff that he did? We've discussed it on the show before. I've gone into great detail explaining to you why he's this extremist. And the mainstream media might pretend like he's not an extremist, but he is an extremist. So I was disagreeing with what everybody on Twitter was saying in my head. And then I went and I read the articles. And when you read the articles, you go, oh, no, what everybody on Twitter said is 100% correct. It's not that we like John Boehner. It's not that we agree with John Boehner. It's that the reason he's stepping down and how this came about shows you how broken our political system is, but more importantly, how broken the Republican Party is. So let me give you some information on this from Think Progress here in the New York Times, and then you'll see why him stepping down is actually kind of scary. I mean that. I know that's a weird word to use here, but it really is scary. So they say, quote, Boehner's decision to give up his House seat comes amid a contentious political fight over whether Congress will agree to pass a spending bill that includes a provision to defund Planned Parenthood. According to the New York Times, Boehner has been under extreme pressure from the right wing of his conference to defund Planned Parenthood in the current budget negotiations, which is a non-starter for both Senate Democrats and President Obama. The Speaker, meanwhile, has indicated that he would rather compromise on Planned Parenthood funding to avoid a government shutdown before October 1st. So it's stuff like this that's leading other people to say, well, he's more moderate. But what I need you guys to understand is, it's not that he's willing to compromise on the issue of Planned Parenthood because he's a moderate and because he's open-minded and because that's his position that you should compromise on Planned Parenthood. No, he's doing that out of necessity, and he's saying that out of necessity because the way the system works, if the Republicans defund Planned Parenthood, there is a 0% chance that they will actually defund Planned Parenthood. Because whatever bill, if it somehow were to get to President Obama's desk, which it wouldn't, it would be blocked before then, but if it were to get to his desk, he would veto it immediately, no questions asked. You can send 117 bills to his desk that defund Planned Parenthood. He's going to veto it. There's no question about it. So Boehner knows, because he can do math, and he understands how the governing process works, he knows you're wasting time here. You're saying you're going to shut down the government over Planned Parenthood. We tried the shutdown thing before. You guys remember that? Over Obamacare. What happened? The Republicans tanked in popularity. I mean, the party got destroyed from people all across the spectrum when they did that. Their approval rating was like at historic lows the last time they shut down the government over Obamacare. So Boehner can see exactly how this is going to unfold because it doesn't take a genius to see how it's going to unfold. You're not going to get to defund Planned Parenthood. You're going to shut down the government. You're going to piss off everybody. You're going to drop in popularity as a party, and you're not going to get what you want anyway, so why would you do it? You can't win. You can't win. So he's saying let's compromise out of necessity. Out of necessity, not because he actually is for Planned Parenthood or he wants to be moderate on the issue of Planned Parenthood. That's not the case at all. But the base of his party is so extreme, and a lot of the elected officials now are so fucking extreme that they refuse to listen to reason. When they're told, hey, you don't get it, mathematically you just can't win this battle, they don't care. They're essentially in a blind rage, and they say, no matter what, we're going to fight on this, and even if we know we're going to lose, we're still going to fight on this, and if you don't want to do the fighting as well, even though we're going to lose, step the fuck aside. We're not interested in any level of pragmatism here. We're not interested in that. So think about this. This is how extreme the Republican Party has become now, where they're going into a fight where they're guaranteed to lose. And they're going to take on the fight anyway. And understand, guys, and this is why I say Boehner's really no moderate, he was partaking in this up until this point. I guess he finally had enough. But it was John Boehner who led the charge, or you can say was forced to lead the charge, for the attempt to defund Obamacare 54 times. Every single one of those times, they could not win. They could not win because Obama would veto it, guaranteed. But he led the fight there 54 times. Today, he's probably just, enough, man. The Republican base, it's almost like they don't know how our system of government works, and they're no longer a political party, but as Noam Chomsky called them, a radical insurgency. So we're at a place in American politics where John Boehner is being ousted from a leadership role in the Republican Party because he's viewed as too liberal. It doesn't get any crazier than that, guys. Now, I just referenced Noam Chomsky. I want to play a clip for you here. This is him from about a year ago or a year and a half ago, describing just how extreme the Republican Party has gotten, and this seems perfectly relevant and appropriate to show you again today.
Roughly 40 years, is that both parties have shifted to the right. The Democrats are essentially what used to be called moderate Republicans. The Republicans are just off the spectrum. They're not a parliamentary party anymore. And that's actually recognized by leading conservative analysts. One of the most respected of them, Norman Ornstein, American Enterprise Institute, describes the Republican Party today as a radical insurgency that has abandoned parliamentary politics. Actually, you can see it in the last, ever since the Obama election. Mitch McConnell and others made it very explicit right off that they have only one policy: ruin the country as much as possible, hope that people will blame it on the Democrats, and then maybe we can get power back again and we can follow our program of dedicating ourselves with utter servility to the needs of the very rich and the corporate sector. Well, now, of course, in order to gain votes, they can't say that. So what they've done is mobilize sectors of the population that have always been there, but have never really been politically mobilized, like evangelical Christians, nativists who are afraid that they are taking our country away from us, white racists, people who are so terrified that they have to carry their guns into church because maybe somebody will come after them. These sectors of the population are there, and that's now the base of the Republican Party. It was very striking to watch the primaries, the electoral primaries. One after another person came out from the base, each one crazier than the last. Bachman, Kane, Santorum, all raving lunatics. The Republican establishment was frightened, and they poured money in to try to destroy them. And they managed to knock them down and get one of their own men in, Romney, kind of establishment Republican, but only by undermining the base. And they're facing it again right now. The base that they've organized and had to organize because their commitments are so far to the right, they're having a hard time keeping it under control.
When you talk about racists, or as he calls them, nativists who, are just totally anti-immigrant, or you talk about fundamentalist Christian right-wingers, pre-like 1980, for presidential elections all over, they weren't organized like they are now. Some of the people in the Tea Party movement, you can say. Now they're organized. And this is the Frankenstein that even the Republican establishment is going, whoa, 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 we just wanted a guy like Mitt Romney. We just wanted a guy like McCain. We just wanted a guy like Jeb Bush who was going to give us tax cuts and shut the fuck up. That's who we're trying to prop up. But because their ideas are so unpopular, they have to try to garner support elsewhere. So they go to the social issues and they try to garner support from the social issues. And then in the process of doing that, you've created this monster that's destroying the system that you're trying to keep under control. You think the establishment is happy today that Boehner's gone? All Boehner did was give them tax cuts left and right. His whole existence was to be a corporate puppet and a sellout. There's a famous story about him passing out checks on the floor of Congress to people who sold out to the tobacco industry. So this guy, the establishment loved him. The establishment is crying today that he's gone. And he's almost certainly going to be replaced by somebody who's actually a Rush Limbaugh Kool-Aid drinker, which is why this is so scary, and which is why, as Chomsky is saying here, you're dealing with a radical insurgency at this point. You're not dealing with a political party anymore. And let's remember, the whole argument they're making is we need to defund Planned Parenthood because of those bullshit videos that have already been debunked, which try to pretend like Planned Parenthood was selling fetuses for profit, which is nonsense. The people pretended they were doing scientific research, and the money they were discussing was simply for transportation costs. There was no profit there. So the videos were deceptively edited, and they made it seem like, there's some really immoral shit going on when there's not. And they say we need to defund Planned Parenthood as a result of this, when remember, guys, not a penny of federal tax dollars go to abortion. Not a penny. The Hyde Amendment has been attached to many bills that have become laws, and the Hyde Amendment says federal tax dollars cannot fund abortion. So we have no federal tax dollars funding abortion, period. But their whole premise right now that they're arguing for is we need to defund Planned Parenthood because of the abortions. Mission accomplished, dipshit! You already do not fund abortions with your tax dollars, period. The thing you're arguing for, you already fucking have. And by the way, 97% of the funding, or 97% of what Planned Parenthood does is not abortions. The 3% that is abortion is paid out of pocket by whoever gets the abortion. And again, do I think that John Boehner probably knows these things? So this is one of the reasons why he stepped down? Because he realized, he threw his arms up in the air and said, I know I'm unreasonable, but fuck, these guys are beyond unreasonable. They want to fight a battle that they know they're not going to win, and the outcome isn't even the desired result that they say they want to stop abortion. The rightward movement of this Republican Party is legendary. From 1980 and onward, it's legendary at this point, where all along they've been moving to the right. They're flirting with out-and-out fascism, and the Democratic Party, sadly enough, has followed them. And now they're in the middle, but the middle is now what used to be, as Chomsky said, a moderate Republican. President Obama needs to really, really go to work here. If I was President Obama and these guys, and this is why Boehner steps down, because they want to shut down the government over Planned Parenthood. You know how you fight back against that, Obama? You say, here's an executive order. I just doubled the funding for Planned Parenthood. Now, perhaps I don't implement this executive order if you guys don't defund Planned Parenthood. So we either keep the funding as it is right now, or we double the funding via executive order. Now, they'll bitch and moan and scream and say, oh, but that's illegal. You say, okay, take me to court. Take me to court. You might win, but it's going to take a long time. It's going to cost a lot of money, and I'll fucking bankrupt the Republican Party. You want to fuck with me? Do you want to fuck with me? If you do, the RNC is going to go bankrupt. I'll start coming up with lawsuits against you guys for shit that you did that's questionable. I'll sue the ever-living shit out of you until the end of time here, or I don't do any lawsuits against you, and you back the fuck off, and you keep the Planned Parenthood funding exactly as it is. Which do you want to do, big guy? But President Obama doesn't use the bully pulpit because he's not an LBJ, I should say, like politician, or an FDR-like politician. He really is kind of conciliatory by his nature. But you can't have that at this time in history. This party is so extreme and so ridiculous that by you being strong in the other direction, you're still not even really being a liberal. You're just forcing them to come back at some level to sanity.